Hello and welcome back to our R.I.S.E interviews. Today I am really excited to be welcoming on Nigel Scarfe. Welcome, Nigel. How are you?
I'm all right. Good morning. I'm pretty good,
morning.
thank you.
Good. How have you been? How's your week been so far?
My week has been busy. It's been schools, lots of them, long days, but plenty of smiles, lots of learning. So yeah, it's exactly what we want it to be. Yes.
Perfect. So could you tell our listeners a little bit about you, please?
Yeah, about myself personally.
Yourself and Imagination Gaming as well, I guess.
So yeah, myself personally, I was one of those individuals that struggled a little bit at school. I didn't have very much confidence. I really struggled just to sit in a class and listen to a teacher for a great amount of time. I didn't misbehave. I just think I was almost like a late developer. So I went through the first part of my life kind of being a little bit lost, as a lot of kids are. And then ultimately, I was shown when I was 12, my first glimpse into the world of games. And it completely changed how I looked at things. And that gave me more confidence. Those sort of lessons stuck with me. And then many years later, I set up Imagination Gaming, doing what we do now. And we set up Imagination Gaming 16 years ago.
Oh, wow. It's been going for quite a while then.
Yeah. I think it's beginning to show me as well. Yeah, we when we first went in, the aim was more about showing schools and other organizations the benefits that games could bring. Initially, more about the whole social side, about learning, problem solving together in a social environment, tabletop, where you could grab the pieces, hand on the cards, read people's facial expressions and body language. But it's progressed so much since then that we're linking to the curriculum, depending on what we're doing. We're going into schools and colleges doing talks on about setting up a business, how we work. We go into special schools or prisons and use games to create conversations between people. So the whole thing is morphed into something much broader. And it genuinely feels like it makes a huge difference to all the venues where we go to. Certainly in terms of kids who absolutely love it and never realize just how much learning they're doing on a day. So yeah, it's changed an awful lot compared to where we started, and I'm delighted with that.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. That's brilliant. It's grown so much over that time. And I'm sure having those links to the curriculum and things is really valuable, on top of obviously all the social skills and all that kind of confidence building and things like that people can have anyway. So there are like a huge variety of tabletop games. So could you share some of the kinds of games that you use within Imagination Gaming?
Yeah, I mean there are an extraordinary amount of games now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge numbers, and we're lucky in the fact that we get to see an awful lot of new games in the awards. But that even that large range is the tip of a huge iceberg.
Yeah.
And obviously, not everything is appropriate or something that you'd want to use in a school or an educational type of setting.
Yeah.
But we work with a lot of companies with the early years kids, like companies like Logis and Jeco and Haber, looking at how we can engage sort of the younger kids and how we can change their games slightly to fit in what those kids need. And then we work with people like ThinkFun, Foxmind, and games companies like that, working with some of the older kids. But in general, the games that we use most often tend to have 3 rules associated with them. I have to be able to teach the games in about 30 seconds because no one wants to listen to me for more than that. The games have to be playable in about 5-10 minutes tops, because as part of going into a school, what ideally we would like to do is have that school set up their own games club, whether that's dinner time to engage specific individuals, whether it's an after school club where the kids just come in and play. So the games need to be playable quite quickly within the limited times that they've got. And also the games have to have a really good replay value. So it's not a case if you play it one, I understand it, I don't want to play that again. You want to find a range of games that every time the child plays it, they kind of see something different. Maybe it's something in the artwork that engages or taps into something. Or maybe it's part of the rules where they've gone, I didn't realize I could do that actually. And yeah, I've watched my opponent do this. Therefore, I'm going to learn something from this and apply it in the next game that I play. So we do use around several hundred games, depending on what age of children we're working with or which adults we're working with. So we also work in occasionally old people's homes, women's institutes, and obviously the range of games we would use there are completely different than if we're working with children in FS or Year 1 in a primary school. But we still have this broad range, no matter what the subject is we're trying to put across, or the age, or the ability. And they all similarly apply those rules, because we know if it ticks all those three boxes, the chances are this game's got a chance of making a difference and really making people to do it as such.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think for schools as well, knowing that there's replay value is really good, because obviously if they're investing in these kinds of things, they want to know that they're going to actually get, good use out of them, and the kids are going to want to play them again.
Yeah, and the try that by the games that we pick, we try to find games that have this wow factor to them in one way or another, because ultimately what we want in any organization or educational setting is the people who are playing the games, we want them to drive it. We don't want it to be down to the teacher going, come on, you need to do this, you need to do that. We want the children or the adults to be going, I want to do that again. We want them to motivate themselves. So it gives the actual teachers or whoever's overseeing it chance to actually watch and see what's being learned and how the kids are developing through the play. And if you've got the kids going, can I do that again? Can I do it again? We're there, because you've got over that initial barrier of the kid going, I don't want to do this. They're actually banging on your door going, I want to play that game again, please. Absolutely. They never realize how much maths they're doing or how they're using their literacy skills and so on. They just go, I'm having fun with my friends. So
yeah, that's fantastic. It's obviously, getting that engagement factor that keeps them wanting to play is brilliant. So can you explain a little bit more about how you work with the schools and organisations, what the kind of process is?
It does vary greatly depending on where, say, funding comes from or how we go about getting into that school. I mean, often it will be a case of either a teacher will see what we've done at a large event such as a Comic-Con or the UK Games Expo, and they'll have brought their family along, seen us and gone, wow, I want this in my school. How do we engage with you guys? And then we go through the process of sending them more information, sending them prices. They look through and go, cool, we're going to use this pot of pupil premium money to pay for you to come in and engage. Sometimes it might be paid via a local council. Sometimes we might have the opportunity to go into a school for free via one of the games companies we work with, who are actually sponsoring us in there into new areas and so on. To say, you know what, we've come with an idea with this, where we'll say to a company, we think we can make an impact, and getting into a brand new area where we don't have all the word of mouth that we do in certain other regions. That allows us to go in, make an impact in one school, and then be able to contact other schools in the area and say, look, here's the feedback from the day. What do you think? And that school can then, they get back in touch and say, right, we're interested. What can we do from here? Well, we'll send you prices, send information. And then maybe we just go into work one day a year. Prior to SATs, we'll do a lesson that will get the kids into that exam test mindset, and we'll do a lot of problem solving. Or it might be that some of the schools bring us in every single week, and it's about changing the culture of learning at that school. Others might just bring us in once every term, once every half term. It all depends on what the school are wanting to do, what the outcomes that school is looking for. Are they just wanting one day for a day? Or are they wanting to, they've got a big issue with behaviour, they're wanting to try and turn that around, and we're going on an ongoing basis and work every single week or once every term and so on. It all depends on what that school's trying to do, because that will affect which monies they can necessarily tap into to bring us in and to pay for us. And what outcomes they're looking for. They may just go, I just want maths focused on this particular year. We don't need to be there every week to do that. We can leave them and set them up with a games club that might help that and so on. So, it does vary hugely as to what the school are trying to do, as to how we would work with them and the process we might go down. But in essence, it's all similar in the fact that we will contact them cold, they will see us work, and they will contact us. We'll take it from there then.
Yeah, no, that's great. It must be really nice for knowing that you kind of tailor the experience to fit with what their needs are, obviously.
Yeah, well, I think when we initially set out, you didn't realise perhaps how much variety there would be in terms of requests. So we're starting a project in September with a large academy of schools in which we're doing a lot of enterprise-based skills, almost setting up entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah.
Running alongside a more creative writing project, which is all
Okay.
based on Dungeons and Dragons game. And the days
Oh, cool.
into two of half of the activities are entrepreneurial and half of them are creative writing. And we're going through the academy doing this. So it'll be a fascinating project. But when we first set the company up, we would never have anticipated that. But what we realized quickly was, you know what, no matter which school we go into, no matter which area, it might look very similar on the surface. But often it is, it's very different into what they would like from us.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we tend to be very, very flexible and are good listeners in terms of what the school wants, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's the best way. I mean, every school, even if it might look similar from the outside, it's very individual, as obviously you've seen from going into so many. So, that sounds like a really exciting project.
It's wonderful. I can't wait.
Yeah. So you mentioned before that you had a passion for gaming from a young age. Actually, you found it quite difficult at school. You weren't really enjoying it. You just kind of switched off. But gaming kind of really hit you. Where does that, why were you kind of so passionate about it? And what games, I guess, got you started with that passion?
I think as with a lot of kids, sometimes as a kid, you don't necessarily know what you're good at. You don't know where your passions will lie. It will depend on what you're exposed to. We often say to a lot of the kids, certainly in some of the special schools for behavior, who will go, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And we say to those kids, you might be the best artist in the region. You could be incredible. You could be the best sculptor. You could be the best musician. You've got to try things, though. You've got to see what's really going to work for you. And when I was a kid, I didn't really seem to have anything I was passionate about. I was kind of just lost. And when my cousin introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons when I was about 12, it was like, wow, this was incredible. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and what I was reading. And as he took me through the sort of basic rules, my mind was just a blur of questions and thoughts. And when I finally got hold of a copy of this, I realized after a few months of reading it and playing the basics with a couple of friends, I was at the library all the time lending books because I wanted to know more about this, more about that. I need a book on folklore or Greek gods. And I was looking for ideas for adventures. I was always rolling dice, creating characters, working things out. And I suddenly realized, oh, the maths is a bit better. Somebody would ask me a question, I'd be like, yeah, it's that. And before I'd be like, I would never be able to do that. And that's what really stuck with me about how much it was affecting how I was viewing learning. When suddenly the learning had a purpose, it was like, wow, I just want to do this. I just want to consume information. And we had, it's similar with the fighting fantasy game books, which were way back when, where you'd read a book, it would give you an option of, do you want to go through a door?
Yeah.
Go down a corridor, turn to page Y. I used to wander into town to a record shop and I would buy a poster and I'd never even look at what the poster was. I'd get it home and I'd turn it over. And then once I played the book a few times, I would map the book at the back and I'd make it into my own little map of the book. So it was almost like, this is the world and here's all the different things you can see, because I wanted to see if I'd explored every part of the book.
Yeah.
And those little things that it seemed at the time, I look back now and I'm just inspired to go, can I make some of the kids and adults who work with view things like that, where they play some games with us, we have a talk with them, they suddenly go away going, I want to do more of this. I want to really throw myself into this. I want to learn more about this. I'm not going to be afraid of whether I can or I can't do this. I'm going to try, and I'm going to
Yeah.
fight through it. So that's really where it stemmed from. And then from there, then as I started seeing more about the games industry, and it was very early back then. I mean, the games industry, if you played games then, you were a geek, and not in a good way, I think. Where now to be a geek is kind of really cool. Back then it was like, oh, not so much. Yeah, no, you're just and it's so rewarding to see that come full circle, and to see how players have evolved, and see how the industry's evolved, and what
It's been a big shift, hasn't there?
oh, phenomenal. And it's some of the games out there are absolutely wonderful. They're just, both the artwork and production quality, and the designs and the gameplay are just different league to what it was back then. So yeah, but that's really where it started for me. That 12-year-old Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, just getting lost in all those adventures and wanting to find out more and make up your own. I mean,
yeah,
that's what it's all about. So what benefits, well, I mean, there are lots, but what are some of the key benefits that tabletop games have for children and young people?
I think there are lots. There really, really are a lot. I mean, even if it's just working with core skills such as basic mental maths and literacy skills, if it's something that's a bit more focused around helping kids apply understanding of fractions, or it may be that we're going to do problem solving that allows them to apply imagination into, say, maths reasoning. So you may be really, really good at maths, but if your imagination's not great, sometimes it's hard to go, how would I apply maths in a way that would help me solve this problem? So a lot of them then are the sort of the soft skills of, by playing the games repeatedly, you're learning to sustain a task, because we find attention spans in class are often quite poor when we go in. But you bring the right games in and the right sort of reasoning and thinking around those, the kids will stick and play the game again and again and again. And they're learning more. And even when they lose, they're allowed to, we do the games in such a way that the children understand why losing can be important. So part of what we do is, when we go in, we never let kids win games. Don't think that helps them at all. What they want, it's not what they need. So we go in and I play a game with a child. On the first game, after game one, I might be up here and the child might be down here. There's a big difference between us. However, every step I have taken, every move I've done, I've said to that child, right, why have I done this? Why am I looking at your pieces? Why did I play that card? Can you tell how I'm thinking? Why have I done this? And I'm making them think real smart about their actions, my actions, and what we are doing within this game. And then when it comes to game two, I will play a little bit softer, but the child is suddenly playing smart. So the difference between us is reduced massively. And at the end of that, the number of times they will go, yes. I go, oh, why did you do that? Look how close I got to the games master. I nearly bet you. I went, brilliant. That's exactly what we're looking for. For you to see, even in defeat, I'm learning something. I can see that I'm improving. I'm getting better and overcoming that feeling of losing, being a negative thing, going, actually, no, look how I've progressed here in this game. So there's all that sort of things. And really it's about, I always say to the teachers, my job when I go into a school isn't to teach maths. It's not to teach literacy. It's to give everyone in that class, including the staff, 100 different ways of how to apply what you've been taught.
Yeah.
So I won't teach you how necessarily how fractions work, but I will bring a game in that's all about fractions and make you go, right, okay, I get this now. So I could do this, and I understand that. So two of these will make a half, and so on. And I'm trying to, as part of what we do, is to get the staff to see how we use games to keep that high level of engagement, and maybe inspire them to go, well, next time I teach something like this, and I know there are certain restrictions in place and so on, and they have to teach things and specific points, but it might give them an idea about going, I could actually teach that differently and kind of gamify that slightly to get the whole class on board, excited and fun and so on. And that will help them then apply these key points and facts about maths or literacy or whatever else it might be. So there are so many like different skills that you can have through gaming, alongside the whole social side of it. When when to talk, when to listen, taking turns, patience, these things that, let's be fair, most kids are not too strong in those areas.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and it all helps. And there's nothing. I mean, I do a particular special school for behaviour every single week. The kids there don't really like the venue that they attend. They don't enjoy going to school for obvious reasons, and they've already probably been expelled from several different schools and so on.
Yeah.
And yet now, after school, we're now running something where I invited them all to stay back and do more gaming, and we might have 12 to 14 of these kids in a very low attendance school. It's not full classes of 32 in
But
there.
choosing to come.
Choosing to come. And I'll often say, guys, I just need to sort something. Can I leave you alone 5 minutes? And I will come back into that class. They'll have organised the tables, organised the games. They'll all be sat round, playing, laughing. And you can see the expression of the kids. You can see the child coming out, just enjoying playing a fun game with each other, which when we first went there, you would never, ever have got that or expected that. The staff love it, the kids love it, and it's proving to the kids, you've still got, something to give. You can really be someone. It's an example of how you have changed yourself as an individual, and how you've gone from maybe not being too social and a little bit angry to going, actually, look at this. There's 80 sat around a table, all from different classes, just enjoying games in each other's company. It's so heartwarming to see. It's beautiful. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really heartwarming.
there's
That's
a
wonderful.
lot to be learned there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing, and it must have been really rewarding for you to see that
Very hard
progression.
work some days,
Yeah, of
definitely, but
course.
extremely rewarding. Extremely rewarding. It's lovely to see. And the
And
number
that's
of
the thing.
times, yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're quite in your face about certain things,
Mm.
and we lay down the law kind of when we go in. No, we're all here to work, even though we're at
Yeah.
school, we're doing games. We are here today, kids, to work, and that's what I expect from everyone in this class. But as soon as we've finished a lesson, if I'm walking through the corridors at school, if any of the kids see me, they run up, they want a fist bump, they want a high five, they want to talk, to me, ask questions. And I love that. The fact that you've clearly made a difference, you've had an effect. The fact that they've got all these questions means that their imaginations are going, oh, what about this? Could I do that? What about that? What are the games on this? Are the games on that? And
Yeah.
obviously you get some very bizarre questions sometimes, but it's all it's brilliant.
Oh, that's always the way with kids.
Yeah.
Catch you out of the strangest questions. But it's
Yeah.
good that they're so enthusiastic and curious about it, obviously. So
Yeah,
they
and
want
they
to learn more.
understand even when you're laying down strict guidelines. This is exactly how this lesson's going to run, guys. We don't want any messing about. And if we see some mess about, we're quite strict of it. If this happens again, I'm going to ask you to leave. That's not acceptable in this class. And obviously, we've got this big carrot of all these games. The kids really want to do it. Make them actually reflect on their actions and go, that isn't good enough. And you need to up your game to stay in this room with us now.
Yeah.
But they all afterwards will all come up and go, I've enjoyed it so much, thank you, and so on. So it's, very, very rewarding for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously those are a couple of really good examples of some of the impact you've seen. Have you got any more that you could share with us?
There's so many sort of anecdotal things that we've seen, examples of kids sitting down at a table with us and going, I can't do this. Why? I can't do maths. Okay, we're going to do this then. And you bring a game, and you'll not say it's maths, but by the end of the game, they're loving it, they're playing it, and they're going, do you realize that what we're doing is really just maths? Oh, in what way? And you sit and you show them whether it's a shape-based game on spatial awareness, or whether it's simply how they've been adding up certain numbers or characteristics. And they'll say to you, go, I didn't think I could do this because I am no good at maths. And you're going, well, there you go. You've just proved to yourself that you can. You just got to give it a go. There's examples of people that wouldn't engage in, whether it's the school, the special school, the prison type places, and yet you've got them on board. And afterwards, they've shook your hand, said thank you. I didn't think this would be the sort of thing I would do. I assumed the games would be very kiddified, and they're not. Some of the games are real clever pieces of kit, and about how you've engaged them. And then during the engagement, you've had a conversation about how they're feeling, and they've got to open up about stuff. And then you've, right, well, you're into this, we'll found a game that does this. And before you know it, they're absolutely loving the games, where initially they've said, no, I don't do games. And now they're all over it. We had some kids walk past. I live central Barnsley, so there's a lot of schools around where I live. And there's always kids walking past. If they see me in the garden, games man, and they come over the questions. What's your favourite animal? What's your favourite colour? Thanks, kids. I'm just doing the gardening. Are you okay?
Yeah.
But we had a big group of lads only a couple of weeks ago, as I come out of the house, and I didn't recognise them at all. And I come out of the house, and they were all walking behind me, and I heard this, "Oi, games man." And I'm like, oh, who is this? So I turned around, and I assumed it might have been, I don't know, some parents or whomever. And these group 3 lads, and they went, are you that guy that does games in schools? Like, yes. Why? What? So how can I help, guys? And then one of them said, you came to a particular primary school. I went, yeah, and I still go there now. He went, you did a game called Zeus on the Loose that was all about adding up to multiples of 10s, and you've got Greek god cards that you cheat and so on. It's brilliant for sort of just that basic mental maths type of approach.
Yeah.
And he basically stood and told me how the game worked, told me the rules, told me it was always his favourite lesson whenever I stuck my head in. He loved it. Him and his mates, she's played his games, and they absolutely loved it. And I said, so how come you, so what are you doing now? Why are you in the US? Well, we've just left high school the other year, and we thought it was you. And I said, well, you haven't seen that game for over 5 years then. They went, oh, no, we haven't. But when we saw you, we thought it was you. And I just said to them, I said, guys, first of all, thanks for having the confidence to say hi. Because a lot of people of that age wouldn't engage. They
no, absolutely.
Attract attention like that to themselves. I said, thank you for doing that. It's been really nice to talk to you. And thanks for telling me about what you thought of the games and the lesson. And clearly the impact that it's had, that they told me 5 years after playing the game.
Still remember it so well.
That whole, it sticks with it. If you can teach any skill in a way that is fun and engaging, it will stick far more than necessarily, say, somebody talking at the front of a class. And I think nowadays it is difficult teaching. And if we can find other ways to engage children so that the core information we're putting across them actually sticks for a prolonged period of time, it will make everything else they do so much easier. So there's lots of little things like that where people said things. I was at the special school yesterday. It's the last time I will see some of the kids there. I mean, they are secondary school age, top end of secondary school, and some of them now are going on to college. And I didn't realise it was last day. And one of them there said, do you know it's my last week, Nigel? And I said, no, I've no idea, to me. I said, I didn't realise this. They went, will I see you again? And I went, well, probably not, to be brutally honest. And there's suddenly this look on the face, and they ran over and they gave me this big hug. And I'm like, wow. I said, well, I said, ultimately, I think you'll be fine. You've shown me that you're smarter than you realised, and you're quite funny when you want to be. So just go live your life, be yourself, and just enjoy it. And they just sort of nodded their head and they said, thank you. And they sort of walked off, and I probably won't see him again. But just the fact that you can see when they realise that, it was like, you clearly made a bit of an impact on these people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily just in a way that aligns to, say, a curriculum, but just as a person and as an individual. We always try, whether it's myself going to school or anyone else, we try to be that role model to an individual that says, you know, we'll always be calm, we'll try to be funny, we'll always be polite, we'll be respectful, and act as that, oh, I like this guy, I like this girl, I want to be like them when I grow up a little bit. So we try to have that role model attitude in everything we do. So yeah, there's lots and lots of kids and adults that we've interacted with over the last 6 years that have come back with maybe emails about how much they've enjoyed it. Somebody contacted us from Canada just before Christmas, and I set up a games club in Barnsley back in 1994.
Yeah.
And I used to make anyone that came to this games club kind of the center of the world. I used to stop what I was doing and focus on them. And they contacted me to say, I've been looking for you for ages. Just to let you know, I now play games with my family. Emigrate to Canada. We play them all. And it all started from you doing the games club in Barnsley in 1994.
Wow.
Like, that's fantastic. That's cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So much impact there. So from like your time spent in schools and things, what do you think are some misconceptions that people might have about using games for education purposes?
I think initially when we say we go into schools and we play games, you can still see to this day that a lot of people go, I don't want you to come in and play Monopoly with the kids.
Yeah.
And it's just not about that. There are so many different games we use. And I think when we actually, if we go for a meeting with the school and we actually bring the range of games we use and we talk them through how we use them, it isn't just, there's a game on the table, you kids sit and play it. It's about how we teach the rules, why we don't use certain rules on certain games. We often don't use most of the games as it was designed because we know it's setting. That's going to take too long. That's going to be complex.
Yeah.
There'll be certain rules that we'll use and we'll say to the staff there, this is why we're doing it like this. And you can see the expression on their faces going, I get it. And I think there is that. Games are still Monopoly in the UK. It's still Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah.
Once you actually sit and show them, that very, very quickly changes. So, wow, I didn't realize there were games out there that would do this. I still think there is sometimes a perception of exactly how much can they learn through playing a game. But again, I think it's a fairly easy barrier to get through once you sit and show them an example of, well, here's Zeus on the Loose, here's Gravity Maze, here's PDQ, the word game. As you start playing it, they're like, wow, I can see how this would be used. And there are some examples in some of the games that we use where we know in 99% of the times the teacher will get it wrong, the answer, and the kids will get it right because they're designed in a certain way. And as adults, we tend to think sometimes in quite we overcomplicate things when sometimes it's right in front of us. And we use some examples of those in classrooms. And we reflect it then back on the class, the same as adults. We cannot think things. The kids have got this right. The staff have got it wrong. And then the staff go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
It's a way of, and you can understand why people have got reservations because teaching staff have got so much they have to try and fit in. And it isn't necessarily easy. Kids are not sent to school with an attitude of, right, I'm your mum and dad, and I'm going to send you to school with an attitude of, you will learn something today. That generally just doesn't happen. It's on the teaching staff to go, right, you've got all these kids, mixed abilities, that some are more verbal learners, some are kinesthetic learners, and so on. And you've just got to get all this information in the curriculum packed and taught across to them. And yet they all learn in different ways and think in different ways and so on. And it isn't easy. So you can understand why they'd be cautious about bringing something in.
Yeah.
About learning a different way if their perception is, well, is it just Monopoly? But as soon as you get through that, right, try this card game, try this dice, try this tile or board game, they go, wow. And you can see it's opening their eyes as well. And you can see their imagination sometimes whirring, going, maybe I could do something like this to help teach fractions or help teach this or inspire kids towards creative writing or whatever
Yeah.
else it might be. So it's, yeah, I think we see more and more nowadays that there aren't as many barriers there because games are becoming so mainstream. We have a
Yeah.
lot of teachers contact us now that say, I'm a gamer. I've seen
Mm.
what you've done at this particular event.
Mm.
Get you on board in our school. And obviously,
Yeah.
we can't wait. We want to get into as many schools as possible and prove the effect we have and show the staff and kids just how much they can learn and how much fun they can have. So I don't think the barriers are there quite as much as they used to be. That's for sure.
That's really good. And it's good that when they are, it's quite easy to overcome them by just showing the potential.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, considering all this chat about games, I thought it'd be good to ask you, what are some of your personal favourite tabletop games?
Well, there's kind of games that I would play personally, and there's games that I would play in a school,
Yeah.
and they're often quite different.
Yeah, of course.
In school settings, there are so many great, simple and involving games, such as Zeus on the Loose from Game Rights. We've got Zing from Luma World. You've got so many different Habba games that are brilliant to sit and play with the kids. Personally, some of the games, there's a couple of games on the periphery of those that's in this year's awards. There's a game called Splits by Upper Deck, which is very simple, dividing a row of cards up into three sections, and everyone votes which section they want. And if you vote for the same one as somebody else, it's going to get split down again, and you go for it again. And you try and get the most particular cards. Simple but very clever.
Yeah.
Another one called Camelot by Blue Orange, in which you're trying to create sets of cards, and the players are either in one of two buildings. And any player in the same building can have a share of any rewards that you get. Sometimes you're looking at your score and going, I don't really want to share with you. So actually, in that game, sometimes you might want to kick them out of the building and send them into the other building. Or they might see that you've got a load of these things waiting to share. So they will bring you into their building so that you have to share it with all them. It's, again, a very, very simple mechanic. But the way it plays and the way you can see people's expressions as they're playing the game as things start clicking as to how it works. And a big smile appears on the face as they realize what they can do on their next turn. They're both wonderful. And then personally, if I've got friends around just playing a game, I like what we call deck building games. So there's one that we play cooperative version. I found strangely that my competitive edge has kind of waned over the years. The more I've scored, the less competitive I am. I like games that are a challenge, so we'll set up these cooperative versions of the DC deck builder or the legendary deck building games. But we play cooperative versions, and we will create a version of the game that's extremely difficult to win. And we have to work really closely as a team to try and overcome the various challenges that it's thrown at us. And we'll sit and we'll just have a laugh. And the games that you don't have to focus so much that you're not engaging with the players. I've been to friends' houses in the past where they're so into the game, there's almost no conversation going on. That's not really why I play games. I play for the people. I play for the fun and the laughs that you have over it. But any of those, I'd be like, yeah, I'm all over these games. I love that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And you mentioned the awards kind of a couple of times now. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Family and Educational Gaming Awards that you have?
Yeah, so we set these up several years ago as a way of giving games that were deserving of a broader window, a bigger audience. And these have grown dramatically over the last few years. So there's over 100 games in this year's awards. And one of the big differences is we ask teachers and parents to be the judges for these awards. So we will get them together. We'll organise a day where we'll get various people. We'll say, right, these are all the games for the best maths category. You teachers and parents are going to play through all these. You're going to tell us your opinions, give us your feedback on these games, and that will ultimately help decide which game has won for that category, and same with the others. So we try to have an award that anyone, no matter what the size of the company, can enter. So there's no financial cost. You just send us several copies of the games, and then we will take those around on the various events and into schools and so on, get the feedback sent to the companies, get images of the games in situ and being played, get the teachers' thoughts, the kids' thoughts, as well as the feedback on the actual awards judging. So it's trying to find the best games for the best purpose. And it's allowed us to get exposed to new games that we might not necessarily have seen or heard about, that we've gone, oh, this would be so good for teaching probability into a classroom. Oh, we need to start using this more, and so on and so forth. So it's, there's we've done that for many, many years. We've got, like I say, over 100 in this year's awards, and we have in the summer over 100 different events going off across the sort of region, where we'll then distribute all these award games to the teams that's going out, and they will try them all out and be using them at these small events that we're doing, as well as the big ones like the UK Games Expo. Some of them are appropriate to go to a Comic-Con, Tabletop Scotland, whatever else it might be. So, the awards try to be inclusive no matter what the size of the company, and we try to provide constructive feedback as to if a game hasn't done so well, why hasn't it done so well. This is what our thoughts are on what you might want to improve, or look at the rule book, it's too difficult to understand, or look at your production qualities, and so on and so forth. So that's open to any company that wants to send games in.
Yeah, brilliant. So I guess the last thing really is just to ask, how can listeners or readers get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
Well, they can contact me on email at nigel@imaginationgaming.co.uk. We have a Facebook group, a page that's always having images posted up of what we do. I guess with everyone else, we're on Twitter as well. You can come and see us at any number of events. There's plenty of ways. If you just go to the website, which is imaginationgaming.co.uk, there's a form there. You can contact us, ask us whatever questions that might be. Any means necessary, get in touch. We'd love to come into your school or educational organisation and show what we can do and show how effective this game-based learning really can be. So we're passionate about it. We believe in it so much. It's rewarding, and both the kids and staff alike will have an absolute blast, and we'll get something from it, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Nigel.
That's my pleasure.
To have you on.
Thank you very much for talking to me.